Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, December 22nd. Okay, so we have the moon in Virgo energy, going void, of course, at 8:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're locking into Libra energy at 2:08 p.m. And of course, the transition from Virgo energy to Libra energy is always felt because we're moving out of the physical body, the physical form. Of course, we're all up in the headspace under the Virgo energy because Mercury rules over Virgo energy, but still an earth sign. So we're all up in the physicality. We are trying to identify the problems in order to fix them, heal them, repair them. We're using our discernment. There's a lot of picking apart, breaking things down, seeing the smaller details that makes up the greater, grander whole. In the Libra energy, first of all, it is a cardinal air sign, so there's going to be a major change, a major shift in perception and direction. And in air energy, we're all up in the headspace. Now, the Libra energy is going to attempt to bring the scales into balance, especially coming out of the Virgo energy. We know what we have to do. We know what we have to fix. We know what we have to improve. We know what we have to repair. The Libra energy is going to attempt to bring peace and harmony and balance and all of these lovely things back into the realm. But here's the thing. We normally spend the whole transit of the moon in Libra experiencing the extremes in order to really put in perspective where we need to find a new common ground, find a new compromise, find this middle point of acceptance, of understanding of who and what needs to stay and needs to go. Of course, we're still very much in the solstice energy, still very much in these 3 days of darkness. And today we have the last quarter moon popping off in Libra energy. So if you have downloaded the new moon in Sagittarius manifesting guide, we're going to flip to this part. We're wrapping this particular cycle up. And as we kind of, reflect back upon what we tried to bring to life, what we tried to kind of dream up, conjure up under that new moon in Sag, we're going to see things a little bit differently now that we are kind of needing to, again, bring the peace, harmony, balance back to our inner realm between our heart and our head. So I'm definitely going to encourage you to wrap up this particular cycle. We have a couple of events to kindly capture before we move into the new moon in Capricorn manifesting stage, which of course there will be a brand new guide and a brand new kind of, course and workshop to kind of deal with that particular energy. It is a powerful energy to set the tone on what we want to accomplish in the year ahead. So I'm hoping that you will continue to stay tuned doing the work in those particular guides as we get closer to that new moon in Capricorn. So with all of that being said, there are 10 different aspects taking place here today. 9 of them are going to involve the moon. While the moon is still very much in this Virgo energy, we're going to make a positive interaction with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money in this Aquarius energy. Over the last couple of days with the moon in Virgo, we've had a lot of friction, a lot of tension points with a lot of these personal planets. Luckily for us, we're kind of pivoting here today, and we're going to start leaning into the more positive manifestation of these particular energies. So we are definitely focused on where it is that we want to end up. With Venus in that Aquarius energy, we're thinking futuristically, we're breaking it down into smaller, more manageable pieces that the Virgo energy really enjoys because we deal with the smaller pieces that make up the greater, grander whole. So we're definitely having an epiphany of sorts on where it is that our heart is shifting, our values, priorities are changing, our wants, needs, and desires are changing as well. And there's a lot of room for improvement, especially with the Virgo energy and the Aquarius energy, looking to, again, innovate and make some serious progressions. The moon is then going to trine, which is a beautiful interaction, with Uranus, the Great Awakener, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. This is earth on earth action. This is going to ground us out, make us a lot more logical and practical in understanding why it is that we've been resisting letting some certain people, places, and things go. Because, of course, the old version of self had attachments to those people, places, and things. This new version of self, not so much. But why haven't we been able to let go and move on? Well, we're going to get a jolt here today. We're going to receive some higher insights, if you will, that's going to change our mood, change our attitude, change our perspective, if you will, on why it is that we've been holding on to some dead weight. And when we have those epiphanies, you can't unknow them. And therefore, we are going to have a jolt of energy really push us in our inner realm to kind of bring a certain finality, bring a certain closure to topics and themes that, again, we're going to be very prepared to take action upon when given the green light, go ahead to actually do so. We have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money in this Aquarius energy, semi-squaring, creating tension and conflict with this North Node in Aries energy. This is the only aspect here today that does not involve the moon, and unfortunately, it's not the greatest interaction. It's highlighting for us where there's tension, where there's conflict, because we're going through a particular growing pain. That North Node in Aries energy is trying to get us on the right path, to be in alignment with our soul's mission, our soul's purpose. And of course, with Venus in this Aquarius energy, we're emotionally detached from our situation and our circumstance so that we can act as the observer, see ourselves in the realm reality in which we've created from the higher observation lens to see where it is that we could change things up, where there's room for improvement, where there's room for adjustment. But at this particular juncture, we're kind of closed off in being able to see the actual steps needed to kind of start breaking away from a lot of the constructs, a lot of the commitments and obligations that, again, we're no longer in alignment with. This is definitely going to kind of trigger and activate some fears, doubts, and insecurities, especially where our relationship and financial dynamics are concerned. But again, we're not really in a state of action. This is all kind of inner realm stuff that we have to make kind of peace and acceptance with. We have the moon in Virgo energy, directly opposing, sitting across from Neptune, who of course is in his rulership in this Pisces energy. Virgo and Pisces axis is about healing. The Virgo energy wants to focus on healing the physical realm, the physical body, the mental plane, while the Pisces energy focuses in on the spiritual realm, on the emotional realm, on the karmic realm. Of course, Neptune really kind of highlights where it is that we're accessing higher realms of intelligence for new dreams, new goals, new visions, new creative ideas, new imaginations, and fantasy ideas can actually come to life. But of course, the Virgo energy, we have to kind of sort through the details and understand that the moon in Virgo is highly dependent on taking the information and details from our present reality and basing the probability of what we can build and create off of that, while the Neptune and Pisces energy needs us to imagine outside of the realm of what is currently existing on what is actually possible for us to bring to life, for us to manifest, for us to achieve. So we could feel a little bit, I'm going to say, overwhelmed with emotions, overwhelmed with the to-do list. We could be a little bit confused on what needs to be done and how we're supposed to go about doing said things. And we're going to have a little bit of a tug of war between what our heart and soul wants us to do and logically and practically what our ego avatar needs us to do. It's at this particular juncture, 8:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that the moon is going to go void of course. Things get shaky, things get unstable and uncertain. So we're definitely looking for a little bit of a shakeup. Now, while the moon is void, we have the moon in Virgo making a positive interaction with Mercury. Mercury rules over this Virgo energy. So this is a super interesting dynamic. We have Mercury, who is direct, but still in his post-retrograde shadow period and in Sagittarius energy. I love this interaction because, first of all, the moon is our heart space, Mercury is our head space, so they're getting along, they're working together. The Virgo energy that the moon is in is focused in on the smaller little details and puzzle pieces that are needed in order to make up the greater, grander vision, the greater, grander dream, which of course Mercury and Sag energy is highly focused on. The Sag energy that Mercury is in gives us optimism and confidence and brings the positive vibes back, really kind of pushes us into being hopeful and wishful once again, while the moon in Virgo energy, who again is highly dependent on matter of facts, we are moving out of the highly judgmental, highly critical mental plane, and we're starting to see where it is that, guess what, we've actually been able to identify the areas of our life that we could be making some improvements and adjustments in. All is well. Our heart and our head are working together in order to do what we have power and control over in this present moment to align ourselves with the greater, grander goal, vision, and dream that we 100% want to be manifesting. The moon locks into the Libra energy at 2:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We sit in that for about an hour and a half. We have the moon in Libra energy, trining, beautiful interaction with Pluto, who is in Aquarius energy. So this is air on air action, and that means we're all up in the headspace, that we're thinking quite rapidly, quite intensely about what we need to do, what we need to pursue, what we need to change, what we need to kind of make some progress in order to bring happiness, joy, peace, and harmony back into our inner realm. The Plutonian energy is going to highlight where we have the ability to kind of boss up, take power and control over our mental plane, over our heart space back, and therefore kind of rewrite a lot of the inner dialogues, a lot of the inner narratives that maybe have had us feeling a little bit low, a little bit funky, a little bit, I'm going to say, in the dark, so to speak. We are in these 3 days of darkness, so that would definitely be a thing. I feel like the 21st, that solstice energy was very dark, was very heavy, was very weighted, and now we're starting to come out of it. 5:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the moon in this Libra energy getting into the boxing ring, squaring off with the sun, who is now in Capricorn energy. Both are cardinal signs, thus the square. We have air and earth, which typically speaking don't work very well together. The sun and the moon coming together in any type of interaction, going to highlight new wants, needs, desires. Unfortunately for us, because this is a square, because this is the last quarter moon phase in the new moon Sagittarius lunar cycle, this is about seeing where endings, eliminations, release, closures are needed in order for us to move on and move forward. So the square is highlighting the growing pain. And of course, the moon in this Libra energy wants to stay in the shallow ends of thoughts and emotions and interactions, while the sun is focusing in on what needs to be done. We have a serious and somber tone coming from the sun in Capricorn energy. We're thinking about the long term on how it is that we've gotten here, and we're thinking about the long term on where it is that we want to go from here. And we're going to have to remove some people, places, and things in order for us to be able to close the chapter that we're moving away from, and to have the space, a clean slate to build upon this new chapter that we're definitely anxious in moving into. The moon in Libra is then going to directly oppose and sit across from the North Node in Aries energy, which means that we're sitting on top of the South Node in Libra energy. And of course, we've been on this Aries and Libran axis now for the last almost 2 years-ish, kind of learning the karmic lesson, if you will, on where it is that we had to break away from codependent relationships and people pleasing and putting our own wants, needs, and desires on the back burner in order to appease and make other people happy. Of course, the whole mission here is to lean into that North Node in Aries energy, to be an individual, to be on a solo quest, a solo adventure in order for us to get to know thyself so that we can heal thyself. But of course, the opposition means is that we're feeling torn, we're teeter-tottering, if you will. And because the South Node in Libra energy is where the moon is basically sitting on top of, there is this pull back. There's this nostalgia, looking back at old relationship dynamics, back at old familial matters, back at old situations and circumstances that, again, we fought very hard to get away from, but for some reason we're kind of romanticizing at this particular juncture, and we really got to shake our head, and we definitely have to prevent ourselves from taking any actions and making any moves to take steps back to those particular connections that we work very hard to break away from. And we have to, again, remind ourselves to lean further into that North Node in Aries energy, really know who it is that we are, the goals, the visions, the dreams that we need to be pursuing for thyself. Again, thinking very much about the future and trying very hard to not get sucked back in the past. The moon in Libra then going to make a very awkward interaction with Venus, who of course is in this Aquarius energy. Venus rules over this Libra energy, so there's a little bit more of an intensity with this particular interaction. And of course, this air energy has us all up in the headspace. But because this is not such the greatest type of interaction, again, we're kind of in the negative narrative. We're focused on the past instead of the future. We're kind of getting a little bit more nostalgic and sentimental than we need to be. We are starting to realize where it is is that the scales in our relationship dynamics are still a little bit out of whack and unbalanced. We're trying to really understand what we can adjust, what we can improve in order to create a better situation, a better dynamic for us moving on and moving forward. So the last thing that we got going on here today is the moon in this Libra energy sextiling, which is a beautiful interaction with Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, who of course is retrograde, looking back, reassessing, reanalyzing, sitting on the bench and observing, in the Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac. So a sextile means that there is going to be a spark popping off. Again, that's what we get with air and fire. There's going to be a spark. There's going to be an aha moment. There's going to be a trigger and activation to help us grow, to help us learn, to help us understand where it is that maybe we're taking actions and making moves in our life that are not in alignment with our heart space. And again, reassessing what that would actually mean if we were aligned with our authentic self, listening to our higher self, listening to our heart space, and actually pursuing passions, goals, dreams that again are very much in resonance with this new version of self. So this is going to help us kind of get motivated, going to help us be a little bit more determined, again, to build, cultivate the fire, the spark, the flame in our inner realm and under our ass in order to keep us focused on the goal, on the prize that of course our higher selves needs us to pursue.